How's everybody doing? Hey, thank you very much for being here today. I truly appreciate it. Again, my name is Todd Chamberlain. I'm the Chief of Police of the Aurora Police Department. Since I took on this role and was appointed as Chief, I have led this agency and this organization really founded on the foundation of community-oriented policing. And really what that comes down to is community partnerships, problem solving, and organizational transformation. And that organizational transformation has been something that I have been deeply engaged in. With that transformation comes the hope of reduced victimization, which the Aurora Police Department has, but then it also comes the realization that transparency and accountability is a huge part of that as well. To date, we are down 30.2% in violent crime and overall crime in the city. And while I would like to stand up here and just celebrate that fact and the win of the department, I also have to make sure that we are committed to the community, and with that commitment comes an incredible level of transparency. So today I want to provide an update on an internal administrative matter that is understandably concerning not only to us internally, but it is also concerning to the community that we serve. And I also want to walk you through step by step what each of those impacts are and how it impacts this agency, the organization, the individual officers, and how it impacts the community. A real quick overview of what we are involved with. Again, in March, as homicides and fatal and non-fatal shootings have decreased in our city. Actually, they have decreased to the lowest level and the lowest amount in over 5 years. Our major crimes homicide unit began to have the time and the opportunity to focus on cold case homicide investigations. During a review of a case from 1997, detectives were unable to locate certain case materials that were part of that investigation. And so with that, they also couldn't find it either in a hard copy or in a digital evidence system. So the current detective who was involved in that investigation reached out to the original case detective who was involved and had served in that major crime homicides unit from 1996 until 2011. That individual had retired from the department in 2022. The retired detective was contacted and he stated that he still had some of the material and it was at his personal residence. He brought a plastic bag which contained some of that information to Aurora PD headquarters, and it contained numerous documents. It contained some VHS tape, it contained some photos, and some other material from that investigation. Immediately, we knew that we had something that we needed to look at deeper, get more involved with it, and try to bring more clarity to what we were dealing with. Our detectives were concerned and began to ask specific questions to the retired detective. Had he had any additional information, either on his person, at home, or anywhere else. They discovered that the retired detective was in possession of material that related to multiple homicide cases. He had worked during his tenure as a major crimes homicide investigator. Immediately that caused a number of red flags. Our major crime homicides unit and our property and evidence responded out to the retired detective's home. He consented to a search, at which time we searched the location, and in the floorboards of the retired detective's home, we located 30 boxes that were recovered that contained binders, reports, photographs, VHS tapes, handwritten notes, and other documents related to investigations and cases that he had worked. And this is where I really want to kind of take a minute, and I really want to note that, again, what we did not find in all of these boxes was any physical evidence. And so again, when you think about physical evidence related to crime scenes, that's really, in basic terminology, it's about tangible objects. It's about DNA, blood, fingerprints, anything like that. Again, none of that stuff was found in any of these boxes. He retained none of that. What he basically retained were notes, documents, videotapes of interviews, things of that matter that were kept in these boxes, things that he had personal connection to, things that he had oversight of while he was an investigator involved in these homicide investigations. So once again, we notified it, and in due regards to transparency, due regard to collaboration and cooperation with other entities, we immediately notified both the 17th and the 18th Judicial District within the District Attorney's Office. We also contacted the consent decree. Again, the Aurora Police Department is under a consent decree, so we also reached out to the monitor. and made them aware of the situation and the investigation. As part of our investigation, we basically applied for a search warrant through the Arapahoe County District Attorney's Office for additional search of the retired individual's home. That search warrant was not approved. Again, it was based upon probable cause. And so that kind of gives you an idea of the severity of what was not necessarily there, but also administratively what was there. And so again, when we looked at the review of this, it's done from two aspects. It was done from a criminal investigation, and then it was also done from an administrative investigative aspect. Administrative, to look at our systems, to look at our processes, how we could improve them, what we could do. But then also criminally, was there any malice? Was there anything that we had to look at this retired detective at from that aspect? And so these are the two steps that we took. As part of our investigation, I mentioned the search warrants. A few weeks later, we did a follow-up back out to that individual's home. We searched his home once again, tried to make contact with him, got a consent to search again, and no additional items were found, not only under the floorboard where the original boxes were kept, but anywhere else in the entire home. Again, the actions that we have been taking have been extremely deliberate, extremely open, extremely methodical, and extremely collaborative. And that's really what I want to articulate out as well. We have been our due diligence without question to preserve, to recover, to maintain the continuity of the investigation, the chain of evidence, and all other information pertinent. We immediately secured all of the material that was taken by the detective to his residence when he retired. We actually took a conference room, we rekeyed it, we secured all of that material and placed it in a place where it could no longer be tainted or worked with. We also made sure that the district attorney's office, again based on the cases that they had, again with the two districts, with the 17th and the 18th, they have different cases that they work on at different times, and so we made sure that they had unfettered access to all of the recovered material. They also have a complete connection to all of our investigators that are reviewing the information, and they can come and go and look at any of the cases that we have at any time and be able to review if and when, how it is possibly impacted any situations that they are dealing with. We have also worked with our detective personnel, specifically cross-referencing every item that has been impacted, any open investigations, any previous investigations, anything that is ongoing, to make sure that none of the information that was gathered in the retired detective's home was pertinent, was impactful, or involved any type of conflict whatsoever. Another thing we did, and again, I hope this does come clear, is that this wasn't something we sat on and we thought about. That the minute that we became aware of this information, we acted upon it. This office, myself, the other chiefs, the entire organization immediately stepped forward and said, hey, this is a situation that we are not going to turn away from. Instead, we are going to press into it. And that's why we're having this conversation today, to be quite frank. I'm not going to turn away from this. We are in the process of organizational transformation. A huge part of that is accountability and transparency. And so again, as we immediately discovered what was occurring, we got together with parties of the city, with legal counsel, with internal operations, both all of our chiefs, our detective personnel. We looked at the depth and breadth of what we were contending with, and we set about a very specific and very strategic plan of action to make sure that, one, we have accountability for everything that occurred, and then also we make sure that nothing in the future like this ever happens again. And those are the steps that we took without question. Both the 17th and the 18th Judicial District offices have been conducting their own independent investigations, which I think is incredibly important, because one thing I did not want this to be was something that was internal only. I wanted to make sure that we are transparent, not only at a operational level within ourselves, but we are transparent outside of the organization. And so that was the relationship with the 17th, and it still is the relationship with the 17th and the 18th combined. We have also learned that many of the cases and many of the facts related to this material, as court files, that no copies stored in the APD systems or any of our facilities have been tainted outside of what we are discussing and talking about right now. At this time, our detectives have found that there is no indication that the recovered case material compromised any prosecutions. And again, I want to reiterate that there is no information at this point that there is anybody that was tried, anybody that was held accountable, any case or any victim, and any suspects that were impacted in any way by any of the material that was located in that retired detective's home. And that is incredibly important to me. is incredibly important to the organization, and it's incredibly important to why we're having this conversation. Again, one thing that we know, and one thing that I believe in, and one thing that I will be held accountable for is that this is a discovery. It raises legitimate concerns, and I completely embrace that. I embrace the good of this agency, and I will also take on the bad of the agency. We are in, without question, full transparency, and we wanted to bring this to the community. The review has taken months, and it has literally taken months to go through all the material that this individual has. We have had detective personnel, we have had people outside of our organization review, watch, go through every VHS that is there. We have had assessments done by the city auditor to make sure that there is an accountability for each document, for each component. Like I mentioned before, we have also had individuals from the 17th and the 18th District Attorney's Office also be involved in that process. I know I mentioned it once, but I'm going to say it again. Again, I want to reiterate that nothing found in this by our detectives indicates that there is any recovered materials have compromised any of the prosecution cases, any of the cases that are unfolding, any of the cases that have occurred. This was without question poor record keeping as an organization. We will take accountability for that. These are also things that have been progressively and proactively modified, not only since the discovery of this, but it has also been something that this organization has been doing to modernize, to move forward, to use technology in a way that has not been done before. And that is exactly what's occurring and what has been occurring. Again, our case management system has been completely updated. We are refocused on making sure that it goes from binders to being digitized, and with that comes a more clean, a more concise, and a more controlled level of being able to maintain evidence, information, and case data. Many of the cases that we talked about, again, it precluded or predated that technology. It's like I said, it went from binders to being in the cloud. So that is what we are dealing with now. The material that the detective had, what we found a lot of is that it was redundant material. It was copies of materials on cases that he had. We have done a review of all of those cases, and right now there is nothing that indicates what he had is a standalone or a unique product or a unique piece of evidence. It is a redundant system. For whatever reason, this detective felt like this is something that I want to collect, it's something I want to remember, it's something I want to keep, I don't want to give up. So that, again, I also want to make sure that's very clear. But with that said, even though right now there is no indication that any cases are compromised, there's no indication of any wrongdoing in relation to an individual unnecessarily being penalized, prosecuted, or mistreated in any way whatsoever by any of this material, it is without question unacceptable. And I will embrace that standard, and I will make sure that this never happens again, and making sure that we as a department do better. We are in the goal and the objective of quality through continuous improvement. We have identified an issue that is problematic. We have addressed it, and we will continue to address it. We have conducted internal audits. We have conducted random audits of all of our material. And with cases going forward, that is what is going to be the standard. We have an audit calendar that is built out where cases will be systematically and randomly picked. They will be dissected, they will be reviewed, and then those findings will be open up to any individual or any organizational review that we need to modify our behavior. We are treating this matter without question at the highest level of seriousness and transparency. Evidence control is really at the foundation of the integrity of what we do. Again, these cases that these detectives, that these officers are involved in are incredibly intense. The information that gets gathered, the evidence that gets picked up, the things that get presented to our partners in the legal system, they have to be untainted. There has to be a consistent and validated chain of continuity, or with that, lack of becomes questions. We don't want questions. But what I don't want to do, and what I will not do, is ever step away from an issue that we have within this organization. We identified an issue, we have brought it forward, and we are letting everyone know, not just people within the criminal justice system, but our community know that we will do better and that we will continue to focus on this. In closing, I would just like to say again, this is an active investigation. We remain in very, very close coordination with both the district attorney offices, and as we learn more, we will continue to put out more information and more details related to this. With that, I would like to open it up for any questions.
You said that this started looking into an open case. Has any of the information that was reviewed helped in furthering that case?
Yeah, and that's the unique thing. None of the information has helped. None of the information has hurt it. None of the information has hindered it or changed it in any way. That's the unique thing, and that's why, again, this is without question a serious event. But luckily, what we didn't find is really compelling information that would have proved somebody's guilt, somebody's innocence, would have proved a victim was not served or a victim was overserved. That's not what we found. What we found is a detective who spent a lot of time on these cases, felt that he had the right to take bits and pieces of these cases that he committed himself to and worked through, and for whatever reason, I'm not in his mind. He wanted to retain these documents. Many of them, as I said, were copies. So it wasn't even original information. It was copied of information or notes that he took for himself that were still part of the investigation. When you look at case management system, the clarity, the imperative nature of making sure that all documents, all information, all interviews, all discussions are captured has to be there to show that chain of continuity. He did all that. But what he also did is he took his own notes or he did redundant notes, and those are the things that he kept and gathered. It's unacceptable. Again, we cannot have somebody taking those things and putting them in their own home.
Has any of this information during the course of any investigation been sequestered from a prosecution? Like during a trial, both sides have had access to this information. Nothing's been held outside of the prosecution? Yeah, again, prosecution, defense, anybody, again, this information, as it becomes more and more clear, as we get more and more details, that is going to be open. And I'm sure there's going to be questions that are going to be asked. But what I want to say and what I want to reiterate, again, and I mean this sincerely, right now we have not seen any information that is new. We have just seen gathering of information that is duplicate. Now, that can cause issues. It can cause concerns because it's outside of the norm of how case management occurs. It's outside of the norm how evidence is processed and how it's controlled. There is a break in the chain of continuity. But again, the information that was held for the original prosecution or the cases that were unfolding or ongoing is still solid. It's just this individual took redundant information and placed it in his own home.
Understand.
A little unclear, but what level of concern is there that he held evidence or documents or work product that was not turned over in discovery?
Yeah, and at the beginning, that was the very, very serious question, and that was a great question on what your thoughts are, because that's exactly what I thought. I said, well, what are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with somebody who sequestered documents that were in favor or lack of favor of a particular case or an event? And so that's where we immediately stepped into this. The first day that we determined this, I convened a meeting with all our staff. I convened a meeting with our legal counsel. I convened a meeting with and contacted the 17th and the 18th to advise them of this. And I said, we don't know what we don't know yet. And so that is where this investigation has taken us. Luckily, we have found, again, no information that is compelling one way or the other. We have just found a retention and a capturing of redundant documents in this individual's home. It still goes against the violation of our administrative directions. It still goes against the violation of criminal justice as far as the chain of continuity. But we have not seen anything that would have changed a case one way or the other. And we have not seen any information or any documents, any VHS, anything held that was not already in the case presentation that is either moving forward or had already prior had. So again, it's just copies of what he had. There was no new compelling information.
And given what you just said, that this goes beyond policy, for lack of a better term, does it rise to the level of a crime?
And again, that's where we're looking at as well. Right now, I really wanted an outside view on this. I didn't want this to be an internal Aurora Police Department determination as far as criminal allegations or criminal filings. I have had discussions with both the 17th and the 18th District Attorney's Office. They are well aware that if this does rise to a level of a crime that they feel is able to be prosecuted, we will support that decision. If we, as our investigators, move forward, determine that there was malice, determine that there was some criminal element related to tampering with evidence, or something else evolves, I will be the first to make sure that this person is held accountable, both at a criminal level and as well as an administrative level. Administratively, it's challenging because he's not on the job anymore. So there's not a lot we're going to be able to do with that. Criminally, if we find out there is tampering of evidence, if there's destruction of evidence, if there's something that tainted a case, I will personally, and this department will without question step forward and hold that individual accountable in a criminal court of law.
Do the DAs have the same opinion that no adjudicated cases are affected?
And again, this is still an ongoing investigation. Right now, they have not seen anything at this point. Now, as we move forward, and that's what I wanted to make sure I left it with, we are going to continue to review this and look into this. They, as I mentioned, have complete access to everything. So as they look at their cases, they will make that determination. If that bubbles up, then we will act upon it. But right now, in the reality that we are in today, here and now, there is no information that is changing any of the dynamics as far as the cases.
I think you said stuff was in his floorboards. Can you describe the process of finding that?
Well, what we actually had, we had our detectives, and then we also had our crime investigation unit actually go out, and there was a crawl space area where he had kept these 30 boxes, and so they had to actually go down there and pull all these boxes up.
Did he say, like, oh yeah, it's over here? Or
He did, yeah. He wasn't, I mean, I think it was normalized in his head that it was okay to do this over a period of time. Again, when I talk about organizational transformation, that's one of the things I talk about, and what I mean is that that should never have been acceptable. Any of our personnel, any of our detectives, any of our officers understand the basics of chain of continuity of evidence. For whatever reason, I think this detective normalized this behavior and thought, it's just kind of like a trinket. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to take this and I'll put it here and I'm going to get back to it later. And I think it just accumulated over his 41 years of being within the department over that period of time on cases that he worked on. So again, what was going through his mind, how he normalized that, I don't know. But I can tell you that is not acceptable. It is something that we will not allow. It's something that we have made sure over these periods that we found this out, that this was not common practice in any way. And it was not common practice. And from this point on, if we've verified that anybody is involved in something similar to that, there will be both administrative and criminal prosecution related to that. So right now, that is a thing that was occurring with this individual detective. There is no pattern of conduct. There is no systematic aspect of this as far as the organization. We are incredibly tight. We have gone through countless audits related to record retention, related to our evidence processing. Every audit from outside entities, both inside and outside, have come back in the positive nature. We have passed all of them. This is without question an outlier, and getting in the dynamics of why or why anybody would want 30 boxes of this stuff under their floorboards, I don't know. I really don't.
Just a follow-up, just the psychology of that. And it's okay if you repeat yourself, but it's hidden. It's not on a bookshelf. It's not in a filing cabinet. It's hidden. Can you, either your impression or his explanation, explain why they were out of sight, even from guessing his own home?
You know what, sir? Honestly, I want to stay based on the facts, and the facts is what I know. What was going on in this individual's mind is what I don't know. He has, without question, navigated something that I don't think is normal. Whether he was open about it once he was confronted, it was almost like, oh yeah, I got some information, and yeah, I got some more. I think until we kind of identified to him the severity of what he did, I think a light bulb kind of clicked on, and he stepped back for a second and he said, hey, this is not normal. I might have normalized this, but this is not normal. So that, to me, in of itself, when you look at the organization as a whole, is a very, very positive aspect of this.
Do these files go beyond major crimes, or for all 41 years, or?
Yeah, all we have right now and all we know of, and again, we're very confident right now that we think we have most of or all of the boxes. They're all related to specifically the major crimes unit that he was involved in that period of time.
Felony cases?
Yes. Yep. Any other questions? Sir.
You're probably still reviewing other open cases out there where there might be red flags, like, oh, we may have something else hidden.
The really good thing is, again, this department has some incredible investigators. We have some incredible leadership as far as the oversight of those cases. And so we have identified the boxes that he did have under his house. They are specifically related to 35 cases, so it's not like we found a new document and it's like, oh, what's this related to? He was methodical in how he kept his copied documents and copied VHS and all that stuff. You know, a lot of it too comes to the modifications that we have done as far as the guidelines for our evidence and our case management system of making sure that when evidence gets pulled, it goes to court, and then whatever gets accepted into the court, it stays with the court, or if it comes back, there has to be an accountability component back at headquarters, back at our evidence. Before it wasn't. The boxes would go out, they'd go to court, and they wouldn't be accounted for coming back. So there was niches and things that have been worked on over the years. During that period of time that he was doing this, those systems unfortunately weren't in place.
And I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but have you informed any of the, I guess, participants in any of these cases, suspects, relatives, anything like that?
Yeah, right now, again, this is that discussion for anybody. The prosecutors, the 17th and the 18th, again, as a case-by-case basis unfolds, if they see a need to, they will address that particular family or that particular incident, that particular suspect, that particular defendant. Whatever they will do, that will be the steps that they take.
Who is the detective?
Right now, I'm not going to give his name out. Again, he's been retired for, I'll give you some background on him. He came on in 1981. He joined the APD. From 96 to 2011, he was assigned to Major Crimes Homicide Unit. In 2011, he left Major Crimes, and he was assigned to our District 3 investigations, and then he retired in 2022 from APD about 3 years ago.
Did he have evidence on the Hammer murders and or the Aurora Theater shooting?
Again, I don't have that specific information, but right now, neither one of those cases sound familiar to me, so I'm going to say no.
Can you say anything about his success or failure rate as a detective?
You know, again, I think that's something we looked at administratively. I'll be really honest with you again, and I know I keep using this term a lot when I talk about organizational transformation. A big part of that is understanding our personnel and who does well and who does poorly, who does mediocre, and then holding them accountable to a level of performance. That's something that we, over this past year, have really instituted with technology. Based upon what I heard from his performance, it wasn't stellar. It sounded like some people needed to have hard conversations with him that unfortunately were missed. It sounded like he had issues. And again, this is just third-party information that I'm getting. But I'm not going to keep that under wraps either. I think, again, there's ways that we could do better. I think there's things that we can communicate to our personnel and our staff now. We have amazing, amazing officers. We have amazing detectives. Again, this is an outlier. This isn't a norm. I mean, we don't have some rampant thing going on where detectives are doing this type of thing. We have investigators that are committed, investigators that solve homicides every day, investigators that find people that kill their family members, like what we had this weekend, you know, and are tenacious about it. And we have investigators that find hit-and-run suspects from a piece of a car plate that was left, like what we had this past weekend. So again, this is unfortunately is an outlier. And I mean unfortunately because I wish it didn't happen, but it did. But what this is not is a statement on this department or this organization. This is a statement on this one individual that for whatever reason normalized this process. But we have incredibly gifted people, and this particular individual, it sounds like there was issues, it sounds like there was concerns, but luckily we identified him even after he left the agency and the organization. And again, that came through our detective personnel. They could have easily said, we don't have anything else, we don't have anything more, or you got more, we don't want to deal with it. Instead, they dove into it, and they knew what they were opening up, and this organization knew what we were opening up. And we are going to continue to focus on opening up things that are problematic, that aren't the best, because that's what we want to do for our community. We want our community to know that we are here to serve them, we are here to be open, we're here to be honest. And if it's not ethical, if it's immoral, we aren't going to allow it. And that's where I hope everyone knows and everyone feels that we are at as an organization right now.
Did he retire on his own accord?
He did.
Has there been any disciplinary action against him in his history?
Right now, I don't have that stats with me, so I don't want to give out any bad information to you, sir.
Just 41 years, stuck with the department, kept employment with the department. I'm trying to say it nicely. He couldn't have been that bad, but,
Yeah.
but you say he had issues.
He did have issues, from what I understand, yes.
So why not identify?
And that will be part of the investigation later on. But right now, based on this information, based on where we're at, is not going to occur right now.
It sounds like he was in a pretty prominent position. Some of us were at a news conference earlier this week, unrelated, but discussing the credibility of Aurora Police. So if someone retired 3 years ago, was in a prominent position, had issues, as you said, why doesn't it speak to the culture that you're trying to change?
Because again, this is not the norm. This is an outlier. This is something that we have not seen across all of our personnel. Again, this is a major city police department. This is one individual that has done something that should not have been done. But what we don't see is this across the board. And that was a big part of the initial investigation on this. Because if there was something that was systematic within the agency that we identified, then I'd be standing up here and saying, listen, we have just terminated 60 of our detectives because we found this was a pattern that they were doing. And how this got there, how it was allowed to occur, we don't know, but we've chopped it and changed it today. That's not the conversation I'm having with you today. I'm talking about one individual out of an enlarged police agency that did something that he shouldn't have done. And that is why, again, with any organization, with any operation, you continually strive to improve. And that's what this organization is doing, and that's what we have done over this past year, over the past years. And that's why, again, standing up here, it's hard, because I would love to be able to right now to celebrate the fact that we have the lowest in 5 years of homicides and non-fatal shootings. I would love to stand up here today and celebrate the fact that we have a 30.2% reduction in our overall crime, both violent and property. Those are things to celebrate, and those are done by those same officers that you're saying, well, are there issues across the board? And there's not. And if there are issues, I won't step away from it. I will make sure that you are in this room again with me, that we are having this conversation, and this is getting pressed out to the community. But right now, we are talking about one individual that made some incredibly bad decisions that were not systematic or not in line with the rest of his peers, with our policies, with our procedures, or with the organization. So I hope that clarifies a little for you.
As of today, you have not heard from any defendants or attorneys, or the DAs haven't heard either. I suppose that's a question for them. But
Yeah, no, we have not. But then that's 17th and the 18th. Again, they are well aware of everything. So, and we have not heard anything. I thank you very much. Appreciate it.
thank you.